Sometimes even in local, the still ends up finding one or two big, like the biggest farmers, and then they can call everything local, and they are working hard for small, medium size. You're working in those levels.
Yeah, that's okay. This is another one of my quirks. Maybe I get to it a little bit later. So let me see if I can get your question specifically in the next slide or two. Okay, and if I don't, then come back. We put together a website. You can't have anything if you don't have a website, right? So when you're talking to USDA about this wonderful idea we got a group of people together to start our process off just like this. 80 people in a room, leaped into local foods, because it was on February the 29th of 2008, so I didn't see leap into local foods. That was great that we could get. We got a really great, hotshot website developer person who came in on a lark and put out a website for us. We have people in the room. I know all of you are incredibly literate with how to use the web and simple desktop and all that kind of stuff. But the group we had in Ohio, I would say 90% of them were lucky, but all they had was an email address. But as far as using it, they were not into it at all. So we came in at the beginning of the day. We caused them all to become members, whether they wanted to be or not. Their email address qualified them to be a member of localfoodsystems.org. And we broke into affinity groups, like something we may do even this afternoon. And each group then got a group created on localfoodsystems.org. And everybody that was sitting at that table also became a member of that group. So that meant that as a result of that meeting, they left the meeting. They started getting emails of anything that was posted into their group about that topic that they were interested in. So they were immediately brought into the sustainability, if you will, of those conversations. We started with 80 people. We had about 15 groups. And by the time we applied for the grant to USDA, we were up to about 300 people. And which was just like 4 or 5 months later. And we had about 35 groups. And now we're standing at, this is 3.5 years later, and we have 1,200 people in localfoodsystems.org. So we're around 60 groups. Group size, Dave, I've checked that out. And, we're looking at somewhere around 20 in a group. On average, most of them are not very active. People use them to accumulate or as a repository of information that they then pull on and use somewhere else. So this becomes, for us anyway, a clear indication of where things need to change. We thought we had a social networking site out there, and if we got people into groups and onto the site, they would just automatically start talking to one another and just doing all this great stuff online, and we'd be sitting over there patting ourselves on the back for what a great job we did. It did not work. People don't do that. They just don't. So, our takeaway from it is, are we going to try to compete with some other social networking site like Facebook? Or are we going to really reposition and rebrand what localfoodsystems.org is about so it gets into some space where other people would see the value in it and work with it? So we changed it. What you see here with this, if you were to look at this website just 3 months ago, it would look radically different. And that site 3 months ago would have encouraged you to make postings and join groups. Two things that people are uncomfortable using a social network would last want to do. So in this case, it's okay, we think what you really want to do is start businesses. We think you want to get entrepreneurial. So we developed a set of tools and laid them out there step by step. Do you have an idea for a business? Click this button right here. It'll take you to a template. You fill it out. And just the fact that you filled it out with some simple information puts your dot, creates a dot for your business that appears on the map. And if you were willing to say, here's where what I'm producing is going, here's my customer, and here's what I need as a way of supplies, it will then do an automatic connection. So you begin to get this web. So just the fact that you put your dot in, and by the way, this works in California. So you go to localfoodsystems.org and you can put your dot on it. Now I've got some people back in Ohio that told me, if you're going out to California, there's no way those folks out there are going to want to play with our Ohio site. I said, no, you just wait. I got confidence. These folks out there want to start businesses, and they want those businesses to get connected together, and they want those connections to form clusters, and they want those clusters to get into a localized business ecosystem. Community by community by community. I said, this is not going to be a problem at all. And I can already see you're all writing it down, localfoodsystems.org. You're going to be going in there. This is something that you can get into. You can look over there on the, this is kind of big view on the left. And then you look over here on the right, it gets into more just northeast Ohio in particular, where we're trying to get this thing kind of kicked off. And you see the dot over there, that blue dot on the right-hand side. That's Youngstown. We're going to talk a little bit about Youngstown. That's kind of one of my pet locations. What are the opportunities in Northeast Ohio? We had a study done, another guy, get all these researchers like Steve. You know, they got to have something to research, right? And they love to come up with the numbers, and I'll tell you what, it's incredibly valuable information if you got someone out there that's willing to act. So here's the play in Northeast Ohio. 4 million people. And a little less than 5% of the food that is consumed in Northeast Ohio comes from local sources. That means local to Northeast Ohio. Less than 5%. It depends on who the researcher is as to what that percentage is. It ranges all the way from 1 to 5. Okay? So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. We got 5%. If we were just able to get it from 5% to 25%, just that much, 28,000 jobs. Just 20%, 20 percentage points. Crazy. So then you think, well, oh wow, I mean, what the heck? Could they possibly even source that much food? Well, this is where we get to go. Our tax dollars at work. Another USDA study, 2008, Journal of Extension. They went up and analyzed state by state by state by state. What was the capacity of each of those states to be able to grow their own food, produce their own food for local consumption? And Ohio came in 50%. So 25% was not too far out of reach. That was just half of what the total capacity was estimated by USDA. So you can see the play is there. In California, it's looking pretty good. Particularly as I left Sacramento, drove down and to here, and I'm like, I was out here, by the way. I spent about 5 years working on some projects through the UC system. That was before UC Merced was even thought of, particularly, much less built. So I did a lot of work with UC Davis and UC Berkeley, UC Riverside, 3 angry institutions in the UC system, the California state system, and so forth. So the capacity of this state from an agricultural standpoint, the capability, the be able to create sustainable communities. That was, I think, very well known by a number of us. We watched California from other vantage points because what you do here really sets the stage for what's capable elsewhere. I really want you to know you've got, it's a love-hate relationship, you know. I got to tell you that too, you know. But if we just set all that aside and look at it, it is with admiration that we know the degree of challenge that you're taking on here, but we also know that the play for us as a result of what you're able to accomplish here is going to be significant everywhere. So a huge multiplier effect with what it is that you're capable of doing here. It's one thing to sit there and make those dots all get connected. It's another thing to really let that tell you a story about what's possible. So from our vantage point, we put together a flow chart that covers a business ecosystem. So everything starts over on the left-hand side with the sources, and if it's a product, it's run along the bottom. If it's a service and something to do with information, it runs across the top. So you wind up having these arrows going in and out, delivering output. So it's either a distribution, logistics thing, or from an information standpoint, it's input, output. And it goes over to, again, address those need metrics. So when we start over on that right-hand side, the gap. We close the gap between preparation, installation, construction, and the consumer. Those need metrics. You build, if you're going to localize, if you're going to globalize, start over here on the left-hand side and push out to whatever market you can find. If you're going to localize, you start at the point of consumption and you build the system going back to the point of production. It does no good to tell a person who's starving, we appreciate the fact that you don't have enough food to eat. Our solution to that is we're going to start another community garden and give you a bunch of zucchini and tell you that's going to take care of it. It does not work. A starving person needs 2,000 calories a day. You've got to have 3 meals that in total are going to give you 2,000 calories. And according to USDA study, you're not going to spend more than $7. On average, an American spends $7 a day for 2,000 calories. So when you see that Walmart ad about a year ago, where they were showing this family of 4, and they can feed them for $2.31, I'll never forget that. I knew they had read the statistic. They looked at the same USDA study. $2.31 we can feed each person at that cost. If you take that times 3, it gets dangerously close to $7, doesn't it?